Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. Our guest tonight, we were supposed to have two guests, but one showed up, and we're going to talk to him. Tim Gomez, writer of comic books, works on smart foods. Superfoods, sorry. I've got a bad memory. Superfoods with Josue Kure. So tell us a little bit about, we've never actually met, so tell us a little bit about Tim Gomez.
Sure. um, I am an engineer for the Navy, and I've been writing stuff for quite some time. So mostly as a hobby. Obviously only as a hobby. And right now we're working on a comic book called Superfoods with a kind of an underdog loser type that lives with his mom and doesn't have a girlfriend and is just exceptionally socially awkward. And he discovers that when he eats certain foods, he gets certain superpowers.
Okay.
So that's what the first book's about, is introducing superpowers to him and those first awkward steps with superpowers.
When your writing partner or your partner on this, Josue, was on our show, in December of 2020, he mentioned superfoods as that was the next thing you guys are going to work on. Has there been a delay in working on
it? Mostly it's just the art. We have one artist that we like to go through for all of it. And so we've been waiting for him most of the time, but financial considerations also come up. So it took a little while to get funding and that kind of thing.
Okay, so you always wanted to be a writer. Were there and you were interested in writing, I guess, all genres of writing as far as poetry and novels and screenplays and comic books, right?
Right.
We were asking, is there writers, let's say comic book writers, that have influenced your work?
Yeah, absolutely love the Silver Age of X-Men comics. Probably Claremont being the largest influence on me, but also a huge Batman and Spider-Man fan, and I would say, yeah, very, very big influences from those guys.
Okay. So Superfoods is not the first book you've worked on with Josue. What are the others you've worked on?
Right. The first one was Reaper Rules. Mm-hmm. We released the first episode, and I have a second one written, but we decided to go with Superfoods next to get that one out, and then hopefully we'll do them in tandem, and hopefully a lot more frequently.
Okay. I think we have somebody joining our show here. Oh.
Hey, all right.
Oh. We can't hear you. All right.
New mic.
Hello?
Hello? We can hear you now.
Okay. I took my Bluetooth headset off. Sorry about that.
Okay. Or 9 o'clock, I guess. Where are you located, Josue?
Oh, in Lexington, South Carolina.
Okay, so it's 9 something there. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you.
Tim was already just saying all this stuff and how bad you were to work with. No, I'm joking.
True.
So he was telling us that you guys are working on superfoods.
Yes.
I had mentioned to him that you had talked about this back in 2020.
Oh yeah.
So, and he
it's
was
been a long time coming.
Yeah, it can be very hard to get a book out. We totally understand that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he was telling us a little bit about your first book together.
Yeah, Reaper Rules. I mean, we worked on episode 2 on a lot of the artwork already. We had more artists, so it was very interesting, and that's something we want to do next after Superfoods. Actually,
Okay.
get that episode 2 out.
Is it because of I know there's been like 4 years between you talking about superfoods and actually being able to get it out. Is it hard to keep the working relationship going over that much time?
I mean, yeah. I mean, people's lives get in the way. Obviously, like I've moved around a lot.
Yeah.
You know, remember I said I was going to stay in Florida?
Yeah, I had a whole list of questions based on.
I moved twice since then. Actually, I actually moved to Wisconsin and then moved to South Carolina. I was a teacher there for a year and a half though, so I did say
Okay.
I did do what I said I was gonna
You
do.
did say you were going to teach STEM. That was your goal. Your goal was to open
Yeah.
a school, as I recall.
Yeah, I taught robotics, computer science, math, and for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, I did robotics clubs. It was really fun. I did summer school, based on like everything I wanted to just do whatever. Like we did soldering. We built boats that did races on pools and stuff with that kind of age group. And then Milwaukee Tool called me one day and they offered me a senior electrical engineering position. I'm like, I guess I'll get back into it.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you
So
were with Milwaukee for a while, and you're now with somebody else, right?
Westinghouse now, yeah, I work at Westinghouse, which is a nuclear fuel, basically providing nuclear fuel for power plants.
Wow.
So yeah,
That sounds safe.
yeah,
Do
The
you
last
have? I
guy I
mean,
trust with that stuff.
yeah. I don't know how they trust me with that stuff.
are you glowing now or anything? I mean,
Yeah, every day apparently since I started.
I mean, are you actually with the fuel?
Oh yeah, I mean, so we have what's called the mechanical side, and we have what's called the chemical side. So the chemical side actually has what's called the pellets with the uranium,
Uh-huh.
and they're pretty close to me. So there's only a certain amount at any given point, obviously. So it's controlled,
Yeah, but I would
so
imagine
there's
any
different ways
amount
to control it.
is dangerous.
Yeah, and then also the exposure. I mean, there's people that have worked there for like 40, 50 years, so it's minimal. It's just as the same as if you were in the world. I mean, you're getting exposed to all kinds of different rays all the time. Whether you like to believe it or not, there's all kinds of different radiation in just regular life.
Yeah,
So,
but there's also nuclear plant radiation, which I think would be worse. But that's just
yeah. At certain levels, of course, it would injure you, but the way we work, it's below that.
Do you
Way below that.
do you have to wear special gear or anything?
Well, no, you always have air purifier going on. So the only time you would have to wear some type of, suit or something like that is for certain type of jobs. Like if you're opening up like a huge container of it or something like that.
Yeah.
If it's in the air in a certain part of the area, but that's only for certain jobs. I'm not. My job does not
Okay.
deal with that kind of stuff.
Well, we
I
worry.
mostly work on the test systems, and the automatic test systems, the automatic control systems that allow you to build. Like let's say for example, I have a project right now where we're doing welding the end caps on the rods, so automatically. Yeah.
Tim was telling us that he works for the Navy in Washington State as an engineer. You guys, I assume you also work for the Navy. I assume that's how you guys met. Is that true?
Yeah. I worked there for 12 years, and I was in Indiana for 7.5 of those years. So I've known Tim pretty much that whole time that I was there in Indiana, and we kept up ever since.
So what's the Navy doing in Indiana?
They're everywhere.
All kinds of things I can't tell you about.
Okay. I mean, you just don't think of the Navy. It's like, the Navy in Kansas. You wouldn't think they'd be there.
Yeah, it's an R&D base. We
Oh, I
do
see.
a lot of wide range things, but
You'd have to kill
what
us
he
if
and
you
I
told
were
us.
doing there is.
Well, you'd be
it's acoustic
surprised.
Stuff.
If you go on YouTube, you'll find even like night vision
Yeah.
video on about it. There's a lot of stuff
Okay.
online about it.
Just don't think of the Navy as
They
India.
have small arms ranges there, so they fire off a lot of
I see.
experimental ammunition and weapons, and they have a LiDAR tower and all kinds of
Oh,
stuff.
so it's as you say R&D. Are you still doing R&D now in Washington, or you said you were working on
I'm
acoustics?
still doing, yeah, I'm still doing acoustics in Washington State, but it's closer to the submarine side of things
When you
rather
say
than just transducers.
when you say acoustics, what does that mean? Does it sound keeping it quiet inside, or so nobody can hear them, or how's that work?
No, sonar
Ah,
systems.
sonar. Okay.
That's what I figured.
All right. I'm just
Yeah,
making sure.
yeah, no
I'm
worries.
stupid. I just ask a question. Okay. So you're working on sonar. Okay. We don't need to. You don't need to reveal any secrets here on the podcast.
Here
Yeah,
are
that's
the
what I like
launch
about
codes.
that's what I like about all the jobs I had ever since I left the government is that, as a teacher, I can go home, talk to my wife about whatever I did that day, how much the kids annoyed me or whatever. And then, my walking tool, everybody knows all the tools. They're all on YouTube and stuff like that. So I got to, talk about that a lot with friends. And then same thing now. I mean, nuclear is like anything happens, you'll find out about it pretty soon. Now, everything's public. It's the one industry where the customer can actually get a badge and like watch you work, like watch the whole thing,
Oh,
there, your client, your customer. So it's very, very transparent. There's really nowhere to hide with that kind of industry. And very few people ever work in that industry. So once you're in it, you're kind of stuck in that. The retention rate is pretty high.
oh.
Nobody ever really leaves. I've known people that are there for like 50 years.
Are
So
there? Are there? Wow, that's a long time. Are
Nobody
there?
wants to be near you. Radioactive goo on them.
Are they building a lot of nuclear power plants? Or
well, there's a push for that for sure. I mean, that's honestly something that the world has already embraced. I mean, a lot of countries already. I mean, we actually our clients are other countries like France,
yeah,
Ukraine. So I mean, the U.S. is definitely going that route where they're starting to want to build new nuclear reactors. So, which is good, and there's also other technologies out there as well that are kind of breaking through even smaller versions of what we have already, safer, more automatic and not as many human error built in. So
yeah. I'd always heard France was really knew what they were doing with it or whatever. I'm not sure if that's true, but I always heard they were kind of very comfortable with nuclear energy.
yeah, it is a cultural thing. I mean, when you have one thing happen and just nobody wants to touch it again. So, it's not an industry that, it suits itself for errors. You really have to just have everything set up just right so nothing happens. Like, the biggest thing is the mass, making sure you keep the mass small in any specific area. That's the biggest control feature. You don't want to have too much of the uranium in one specific area.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on Nuclear
Fusion's right
Talk
around the
today.
corner too.
So let's talk about the reason you're here is actually to talk about superfoods and Bloody Reapers, and you have a Kickstarter coming up. You said.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now, and setting up the rewards and everything. It's funny because I'm going back and looking at the previous one I did, seeing how good different reward tiers did, and and trying to get all the right visuals and videos and everything set up. So yeah, I'm working on that right now, and I'm hoping to launch next week. So yeah.
Okay. Well, how much are you trying to raise?
So at first I was thinking like 3,000, but then at the same time I was thinking, we haven't been in the game for a while, so maybe we should go, for a target that we've reached before. Like before we reached the $800 target, we actually went above that. So I was thinking 1,000 would be something that we could reach, if we contact everybody we know and if we work with people we worked with in the past. We even had a tier that would distribute comic books from other creators, which I kind of want to do that as well. So, it's kind of like just restarting where we left off, and it's tough because we've been out of the game for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite reward tier that you've come up with?
For me, it's the variant back covers. Like that's what I like. I only have one comic book, and it was so funny because I gave some away, and then it's just so happened that my grandma had one in Ecuador I gave to her,
Uh-huh.
and she gave it to me to bring it back home. So I still have that bloody variant where it's like all the different like all the different characters like fighting with each other and everything. So it was pretty cool, pretty interesting. I like that comic book is special that way where it just looks different. So and it's a printed one. I like that tier where you have a printed comic book and it's different, where it's not the same that everybody else has.
So is that part of your new Kickstarter?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'm actually keeping a lot of it the same. We got to work with our artists to make sure we get that. A lot of that art that was reward art didn't take us too long, honestly. It was the actual comic book, the lettering, and all the other things that took us so long. And also marketing. Making sure that we stay with the social media. We had Patreon actually on for so long, Tim and I. We looked at it. We're like, oh, we have like I don't know how many dollars, $800 or something like that saved up over all those years. We ended up using it for a comic book. So it was pretty interesting. So getting all that started up again as well. Not now it's not Twitter, it's X. So it's like a whole different thing. So yeah,
We
it's
got off,
interesting getting all that social media up and running again.
we got off of X and onto Bluesky. Just
Bluesky.
yeah, sounds
Okay.
sounds nicer. Also, you know, uh, so you guys met. Did you bond over comic books, or did you bond over something else? And it just ended
Oh no,
up being.
Tim and I hated each other, right, Tim?
I don't think so, but
No, just kidding.
I think we bonded over soccer probably.
No, we bonded over, martial arts, comics, just a lot of different things, soccer.
Yeah, we have a lot of similar interests.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Josue told us.
we just started as friends, and then we decided, hey, let's make a comic book together.
Josue told us about his upbringing in Ecuador and his Syrian Ecuadorian family, right? Where are you from originally, Tim?
Florida.
Florida. Okay. You can say that with however you want to. I'm originally from Texas, so there's no big shakes. And he's originally from California. If we're going to talk about stuff. So you guys met and you decided. So was Reaper Rules your first book?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, I
first
mean,
comic
I have a
book.
brother, and so does Tim. Tim has a brother, so like we kind of bonded with that, and like understanding the dynamics between having a brother, having a dad. That's a tough dad. We both have that, so it was a pretty interesting story to kind of tell together.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about. Remind people what Reaper Rules was about.
So, so Reaper rules were alien contract killers. So the story goes where they have well, it's not their biological dad, but it's their dad, kind of an adopted father, basically, right? And the two kids, they grow up with him. They're aliens, but he wants to keep them safe from whoever's going after them, right? And he has to train them. He has to prepare them for that kind of world. And he makes it also where they have rules that they have to follow. But both characters are different. They're totally different. One wants to follow all the rules, and the other one wants to break them. So, that's part of the dynamic between both of them. And they're also in the quest for making the world a better place. Getting rid of all the bad guys too. They're not going after innocent people. So.
Who are they going after then?
So there's a group called Destination X, and they're kind of like the bad group that they're going after. Lion is one of the bad guys in the street, kind of bad character that the first villain that they had to go after. But there's more villains after that. There's actually a female villain that we introduced in one of the trading cards.
Okay.
That's going to be in the second episode. So yeah, there's like different tiers of villains. It'll get more challenging as the episodes go by, and it's totally different artwork. It looks visually different. It looks a lot
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
Going for something that kind of keeps you on your toes as a reader, but doesn't necessarily, what would you call it? I guess lie to you, like a lot of comics do. Like everybody coming back from the dead all the time. It's just
Oh.
a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
You're only dead for the issue or
like-
whatever. Yeah.
Right. And it's not even bad, like, if you're dead for the issue, but if, like, you're dead and then 8 years later, oh, my, thought he was dead, he's not dead, and he came back somehow, or
So when
bullet
Reaper
missed
rules,
his
they're
left
dead.
ventricle.
So when Reaper rules, they're dead. When
That's
they're
the
dead.
plan.
Yeah, okay.
Something with a little bit higher stakes that, gives you things to think about in terms of, like the psychology of the characters, but also like where's the story going and who done it kind of stuff, and have actual stakes to it.
Was the goal to make it as bloody as possible?
That was definitely a goal.
Okay.
That was like one of the first things we talked about. I was like, I feel like comic books are not bloody enough. Like, what's the deal? Let's
Yeah.
push the envelope.
Let's up
Yeah.
the ante.
It's a comic book. It's supposed to take you to the limit, like beyond what live action does, and it pushes live action, So yeah, comic books I feel like are the initial art that to embrace that new show or that new movie or whatever it is. You need some readers, you need people that are involved with it, and then you have that nostalgia that builds up. One day, that's the goal, right? For all of us, it's like to make our artwork come to life in a way. So, we always have that in the back of our head. I think we spoke about that last time too.
Yes.
Like making a show and a movie and all that other stuff. So, yeah.
Who's your artist on these books? Or are there multiple artists?
Well, for the first episode of Reaper Rules and for Superfoods episode 1, it's Dennis Patcher. He's from Brazil. But for the episode 2 of Reaper Rules, it was Ewan, and also there's another artist, Gibeon. He worked on some of the webcomics too that we had.
Gibeon's from Brazil as well.
How did you
Ewan's from Indonesia.
How did you hook up with these artists?
Indonesia.
They're all Facebook groups at the time. I would find Facebook groups, look for artists, get certain example, and even also I think some of them was like Dennis, hey, I have a friend. That was another thing.
Yeah.
That's another way we got artists.
That's how we found our first artist, was through a Facebook group.
Yeah, I think Dennis was through a Facebook group, and it took me a lot of work to find Dennis actually, because I went through an artist that I didn't like the art that much, and we went through like a few pages, and we kind of had to move on,
Yeah.
So
And we've had that too. And we found the artist that did most of the issues through actually a colorist.
Yeah.
She was a SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design graduate, and she was kind of encouraging us to find a new artist, and she kind of found one through that company, or the SCAD through that college. So.
And it's also a personality thing. We get along great with Dennis. I mean, for the most part, when we talk, when we keep up with each other, we actually ask each other, how's your kids? How's everything going? That's like before comics. We start talking about personal stuff before. So it's a very good, relationship that we have. And I feel like it's a long-term thing, So it allows us to come back 4 years later and, and go for it again and stuff like that. So that's actually a good group of people.
Right.
That's kind of how comic books work. Like if you're in a comic book world, you're with the same people for years and years and years, and you keep at it.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you. Last time you were on the show, you were married to Oksana and you had a child, Lana. Any more kids, or?
No more kids. I can't handle more kids. My wallet's not that big. But yeah, I have my daughter. She's 6. She'll be 7 in June, and she's doing really good. She's homeschooled, so she's learning a lot at home with her mom and stuff like that. And I also teach her a lot of stuff that I do. 3D printing. We do robotics kits. I mean, we whatever. On the weekends we do museums, and every day, honestly, she does stuff with her mom. And but yeah, it's a pretty good life here, and in South Carolina, it's a lot cheaper than living in all the other places I've lived so far, honestly, other than Indiana. It's probably the only equivalent. But yeah, it's a good living out
Washington is not cheap.
Well, LA is not bargain basement either.
But it's way better.
What?
Yeah. I said, but it's way better. Washington, I mean.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure it is. Well, I'm sure Washington's very nice.
So pretty out here.
Yeah. and you're right next to Canada, so you always escape if it comes. How do you divide up the work between the two of you?
So
I do all the work, and then Josue takes all the credit.
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Tim is the brains of the operation. You know, the story. Like we do a little bit of brainstorming and stuff on the story and things. And then as far as the artwork, I'll do some editing. Check all the spelling, check all the artwork, make sure it makes sense. Put my edits on there. And then after that, I'll take over after the comic book is done and do all the marketing and Kickstarter and all that other stuff. And then as far as like relationships, like keeping up with you, David, was really good too. We had another one that interviewed our artist called Ray Tunes. So that was a kind of a comic book strip interview, which is pretty cool. He puts that out on his comic book every like I don't know month or so. So I mean, we reaching out to people, having that social part too.
Yeah,
But
you actually left a comment on one of our videos, which is like, hey.
yeah, it was like yeah. I was checking. I was like, wow, you're on video 290. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, you really kept it up. That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
You can do it weekly. You just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah, and I really appreciate you having us again. I remember you mentioned it last time we met. It's like, oh, we got to see each other next time you do it. And I didn't think it was going to take this long.
Well, every 230th episode, you're right back on the show. Really.
Yeah, we'll be there at episode 500. Like,
Yeah, no, it's it's fun. We have to sometimes really find people to be on the show, and other times we get to talk about whatever we want to talk about. And promote our stuff when we can and things like that. So
yeah, I was on a radio show in Wisconsin before I left, and it was to deal with like technology and stuff too. So we talked a lot about AI and it was just interesting. Like it was just kind of shooting, just like talking about whatever. With two of the guys, it was kind of like a little bit of a comedy. So I've been in a few of these now. Like I would say like 3 now, and I kind of like it, and I don't know if I could do the other side of it, like the side you're doing.
Well,
I don't know if I could interview anybody.
nobody ever invites us to be on their podcast, so this is our our way of doing a podcast as we do it ourselves.
And it's hard to set all that up. I mean, my dad, I think he's interested in it, so I got to help him set it up at some point. He doesn't want to do that. The setup is the hard part. Yeah.
Now you also had a podcast at one time, Technocrats. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not really doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. I did a little bit of training videos because I have Kure Electric Academy, like robotics academy.
Right.
So I was building some videos of training people on how to do like CAD, how to do the electrical circuits, things like that, using different software. And then I'm trying to work on like robotics kits at the moment. They have what's called here a Soda City Fair every Saturday. And so you could advertise different things. So I was thinking about working on some robotics kits that I could sell at the Soda City Fair.
Okay.
So those are kind of the key things I'm working on right now is Robotics Academy, comic books, I do have my 3D printer, so I print whatever, comes to mind, even stuff to work on the house. Like the other day, my daughter's goggles, she had the little plastic pieces that came off.
Uh-huh.
Instead of getting new goggles, I just reprinted those little plastic pieces. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Tim, do you have any sort of podcast you're doing that we should know about? When we'll leave you out.
No, I do woodworking, and I was kind of thinking about doing a YouTube channel for that, but I'm too lazy.
Yeah. No, I've kidded myself when I do like yard work. I curse a lot, so it would not be work for a good podcast. The cursing gardener, and I'm not great at gardening either. But no, I like doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna keep doing it for a little while longer. So you talked about superfoods. Are there any? And you talked about the other projects you're working on. So we ask every.
Sorry, I missed
Have you done any comic
Sounds
book
cut out.
conventions or anything?
comic book
Comic book
conventions.
convention.
Yeah, have you done any?
Oh, conventions.
Yeah.
Not yet. We've talked to our artist about doing that at some point in time. hopefully all get together in the U.S. and go to a comic book convention and sell our comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that so many times, like coming together one day and doing that kind of stuff, like bringing all that merch with us, having a little table. So we definitely got to get together and do that.
It's
Pick a state.
you have to apply to we just did WonderCon last month before,
Yeah.
and that was our first time to do a con of that size, and we didn't make back our investment in it. But
We had an episode all about that.
yes, we did. Yes, we've done episodes about it. But it's part of it's a learning process. You have to put yourself out there, and you hope that it will help grow your brand.
Yeah. And you also get to meet other creators.
Yes, we have. Yes, that was the other part of it. You realize you're kind of in a little community of people trying to get their book out there in people's hands. Some are more successful at it than others, but it's an interesting experience if you to kind of be on the other side of it, because we go to Comic-Con every year, but we've never actually tabled there, but we've gone. But when we've been at like LA Comic-Con and WonderCon, as you're there before the show opens and you see people set up, it's kind of interesting to be behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah.
See things before
I
everybody
think
else.
marketing is like 98% of success, and with this face and personality, it's just I gotta leave it all in Josue's hands.
Well, you're selling
worry.
yourself short.
That's why he got me.
So you'd like to, what? Do you have any idea which one you'd like to do, or
I mean,
Which one?
honestly, anything like
if you could do a
Comic-Con.
convention, what
Yeah,
convention would you
gotcha.
want to do?
for me, it's more probably like a convention of comic books that are more like indie, I guess, comic books, more like not the mainstream. Just kind of like the Kickstarter one. I don't know if they have a Kickstarter convention, but it would be interesting if they did.
You could kickstart one.
Kickstarter convention,
Yeah,
that would be
they-
hilarious.
You have to pull it off.
Or it's more of an indie crowd.
Yeah, there are a lot of. It seems like every town of any size has a comic book convention
Yeah.
at some point, usually during the summer, but spring and summer and fall. But again, you have to pick where you want to go and apply, and a lot of times have to pay a fee.
At Soda City Fair here in South Carolina, they actually have a booth, a guy that always sells his comic books. He does children's comic books. So like I always see kids like piling around. It's like, when's the next episode? Like they're on like episode 4 of this nice little comic book. It's like superheroes, stuff like that too, but it's like directed specifically for kids, So it's pretty interesting to see like just people, hustling, even in places that are not really meant for comic books. So there's a lot of different places you could do that.
Yeah,
Coffee shop, whatever,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, anything would be really cool to do together. We just want to do something together, like in person.
But
We've never met
You're going to
there.
have to travel then to do it somewhere.
Yeah, we would all have to travel. We're all in different places.
Yeah.
Come to Seattle. It's a great place.
Well, there's a big convention up there, Emerald City, right?
Yeah, that would be a good place.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Have you been to that convention?
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
I've heard it's great.
Thinking about it this year, but
It's already happened, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. For us, it's
I was on travel.
a lot of it has to do with being able to take the time, and you have to, like, when we went to Anaheim, we stayed down there, and so it was just, it's a, you just have to spend, for us, we have to spend a lot of money just to be present, I think. And hopefully someday that'll pay off. We'd like to do it again, WonderCon, if we can pull it off, get accepted. But it would be nice if they would take, we were in Small Press, which is on the far end from Artist Alley is when you first come in. And then there's like 2 rooms to get. Nobody goes that far. Very few people go that
man.
far. And it'd be nice if they moved them closer together. But that's just everybody who went to whoever tabled at WonderCon wants them to do that. But they don't want to. I don't think. But anyway,
Yeah, it'd be a really good milestone for us to do something like that. Especially if we finish, episode 2 of Reaper Rules. At that point we would have 3 comic books that we finished. So it'd be nice to show up with something that we can share with people and things like that and talk about.
right. We also ask everybody, have you read Power Squared?
Well,
I
I have the comic books.
I will.
Okay. We can send you some digital copies. Have you read it,
Cool.
Josue? Have you read it?
Yeah, I've read it, but it's been a long time since, because there's so many comic books
No.
that
This
I've
show
read,
is
and I just
about
put them
Power
away,
Squared.
and I don't read them for years. Like right now, I was trying to read the second part, Ronin, the last Ronin.
Right.
So like I just got that one, and I haven't read the Ronin in a while. So I was like, I feel like I have to read the Ronin again before I start the second one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long time. But I remember that they got their powers from I think it was like a magical type person, and they got different powers even though they're twins.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty close.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a magical Kitsune
Yeah.
that granted the powers that they help her. She'd been hit by a fallen tree branch, and they helped get it off of her. And because she was the whole, as we would do for, we tried Comic Creator Connection thing at Comic-Con a couple of times. And the story was because she was woozing the head, instead of seeing 2 boys, she sees 1, and so they get some of the same powers, and then they get individual powers as well. So, and then there are limitations because like they can't use power at the same time, which comes up in our recent issues that we're doing, and
Yeah.
they each have So it's we're trying to just make it kind of a little more interesting than just they got superpowers and they can just do whatever they want to. They can't fly and they can't do that kind of stuff, but they can be invisible and teleport and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So
but it's a little bit of a drama too because there's a lot of different characters interacting as well. So
yeah, we just put out issue 24. I'm always wrong about what issue we're on.
Nice.
But and then one of our co-creators, Trevor, his twin brother, put out his own book recently called Blade of Miracles.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I have to check that one out.
it's a monthly, and we're gotta stay busy.
Oh yeah, like I remember we stayed pretty busy with the web comics when we had our Facebook up, but now we mostly, I mean, Facebook, it's not for me, it's not the best way to do it anymore. Like I like Instagram more, so I'm going to try to push that more now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where everybody's at. So I think that's where I'm going to try to put my efforts on this time.
Okay. So if somebody wanted to follow you guys individually or you guys as a group, how would they do that?
So if you Google Bloody Reaper Comics, you'll find a lot of our social media. I still have to work on getting that website back and running, bloodyreapercomics.com. So I have to get that fixed. But we're on all the social medias. Like we have a YouTube channel. We have some videos up there. We have Instagram, X. We're all over the place with that. We have a Patreon. We have even like Redbubble, which I have to check that, but it's a place where you could buy like merch. So I gotta check that out as well. But yeah, it's just restarting all this stuff. It's even like getting all my social media accounts up and running again it took me like a whole day just to do that. So
Yeah, I looked at I was looking to find out what you guys were doing, and I looked up your Facebook account, and the last thing I saw was the interview you did with us 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even think I have access to that Facebook account anymore. So yeah, and like I said, we don't really. I mean,
got the
Facebook is not a
password.
big thing anymore like it was. So
If somebody,
no, it's not that. I think there's some other account that was linked to it or something. But yeah,
if somebody wanted to follow Tim, how would they do that?
Get behind me.
All right.
No, I don't really have like an artist page or anything for
Okay.
for that kind of stuff. I just have a personal one, and the only thing I'm on is Facebook. That's why he's the brains.
Yeah, well, I don't have either like social media for myself. I mean, I try to keep it all Bloody Reapers. So like if anybody wants to follow, it'd be
Bloody
I
Reaper.
would suggest the Bloody Reaper Instagram page because I know everybody has Instagram. So that's what I would suggest following the most.
Okay. Well,
That's where I'm going to try to concentrate on.
when we put up the video on YouTube, we will have a link to how they can follow you. So we'll put that up there.
Okay.
So Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for doing the show.
If you are looking for a silent fidget toy, use our affiliate code Marty and Eli at getono.com. And if you're watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more.
All right. So until next time, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.